I did it. I finally killed the part of me that needed everyone to like me. For years, I walked into rooms scanning for approval, terrified of being misunderstood, terrified of being seen as negative or low vibe. I thought I was being spiritual. I thought I was being kind. But then I looked at the Count of Monte Cristo entering the Paris Opera. He doesn't walk in hoping people will like him. He walks in with clarity. He walks in with boundaries so thick they might as well be castle walls. He isn't there to please. He is there to balance the scales. Have you ever felt that? Like your spiritual niceness is actually just a heavy chain you drag around, terrified that if you drop it, you'll be rejected. Welcome back to the House of Luminosity. This is episode 7 of our deep dive into the Monte Cristo archetype. We are moving into the Paris phase of integration. For a long time, I thought leaving organized religion meant leaving behind judgment. I thought stepping into spirituality meant becoming a being of pure unconditional love. But I realized I had just walked straight into another cage. This one just had prettier bars and played nicer music. I traded the fear of a judgmental God for the fear of bad karma. I traded the suppression of sin for the suppression of negativity. I became the spiritual nice guy. The spiritual nice guy isn't actually good. He's just harmless. He is a sponge for other people's dysfunction because he lacks the spine to say no. Today, we are dismantling that persona. We are exploring how to integrate the shadow of the judge. We're going to talk about the difference between empathy that drowns you and ruthless compassion that saves you. So many of us are waking up to this strange and frustrating pattern. We live a dogmatic life because we want freedom, but we end up enslaved by our own empathy. The diagnosis is what I call the nice guy trap. In the New Age community, we are often sold a version of spirituality that equates high vibration with constant agreeableness. We are taught that if we set a hard boundary, or if we get angry, or if we judge someone's behavior as toxic, we are lowering our frequency. It is the same logic of shame, just wrapped in a prettier package. I realized that while religion controlled me with the fear of hell, this new spirituality was controlling me with the fear of conflict. I became a doormat with a mandala on it. The spiritual nice guy operates on a hidden contract. It says, if I hide my flaws and never upset you, you will love me and never leave me. It is manipulation disguised as virtue. And here's the dangerous part. When you refuse to judge, when you refuse to discern, you become a dumping ground for other people's karma. You think you are helping them by being an empath, by absorbing their pain. But really, you are just interfering with the consequences they need to face to grow. We aren't transmuting their darkness. We are just hoarding it in our own bodies until we get sick. It's not noble. It's a lack of boundaries. It's a lack of self-respect. And frankly, it's boring. The Count, when he arrives in Paris, does not absorb the sins of his enemies. He holds up a mirror. He lets them sit in the mess they created. That isn't cruelty. That is the beginning of justice. This brings us to a critical distinction that took me years to understand. The difference between empathy and ruthless compassion. Empathy, as it is often taught in these circles, is like seeing someone drowning, jumping in the water to hold them, and drowning alongside them, just so they don't feel alone. It feels warm and fuzzy for a moment, but the result is two dead bodies. Ruthless compassion is different. Ruthless compassion stands on the shore. It throws a rope. It shouts instructions. But it does not jump in. I used to think that if I didn't feel someone's pain, I was being cold. I thought detachment was unspiritual. But look at the archetype of the Count. He is arguably the most compassionate character, because he forces everyone to face the truth. He offers Danglars, Villefort, and Fernand a chance to confess. He gives them opportunities to change. But when they refuse, he allows the weight of their own actions to crush them. That is ruthless compassion. It respects the other person's journey enough to let them fail. It respects their sovereignty enough to let them suffer the consequences of their choices. When we are stuck in the spiritual nice guy mode, we try to save everyone. We try to heal our partners, our parents, our friends. We explain away their bad behavior by saying, "Oh, they have a wounded inner child," or "It's just their trauma." Stop it. You are not their therapist. You are not their savior. By cushioning their fall every time, you are robbing them of the rock bottom they need to wake up. You are stealing their karma. Ruthless compassion says, "I love you, but I will not participate in your destruction, and I will not let you destroy me." So, how do we execute this? How do we move from the doormat to the Count? It starts with the death of the explanation. Watch a nice guy say no. It's painful. I'd love to, but I really can't, because my cat is sick, and I have this energy shift. And they offer a paragraph of excuses, because they are terrified that the no itself isn't valid. They are asking for permission to have a boundary. The Count never explains himself. When you say no, and then you follow it with an explanation, you are handing the other person a negotiation tool. You are telling them, "Here is the obstacle. If you can solve this, you can have access to me." The execution of this archetype requires you to become comfortable with silence. Try this. The next time someone asks you for something that drains you, or tries to pull you into their drama, simply say, "That doesn't work for me." And then stop talking. The silence that follows will feel excruciating. Your conditioning will scream at you to fill it, to apologize, to soften the blow. Don't. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. This is a cold stare. It isn't hatred. It is the boundary where your energy ends and theirs begins. In the Paris phase of your life, you are no longer seeking to merge with everyone. You are distinct. You are sovereign. You realize that your energy is a finite resource, not a public utility. It was realizing that the unconditional love we talked so much about felt incredibly conditional on me being a pushover. True love for yourself and others requires the sword of no. Finally, we arrive at the climax of this integration. We must accept the role of the judge. I know. Judge not, lest ye be judged. We are terrified of being judgmental. But judgment is just another word for discernment. Without it, you are blind. The spiritual nice guy wants to be the savior. The savior is an ego trap. The savior needs victims to validate his existence. The judge, however, is free. When you integrate the Monte Cristo archetype, you accept that you will be disliked. In fact, you might even welcome it. When you stop playing the game of niceness, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will be furious. They will call you cold. They will say you've changed. They will say you aren't spiritual anymore. Let them. Their disappointment is not your problem. It is the sound of their access to you being cut off. There is a profound freedom in being the villain in someone else's story, especially when that someone is committed to their own dysfunction. You are definitely not alone in this fear. But on the other side of that fear is a clarity you cannot imagine. You stop leaking energy. You stop carrying bags that aren't yours. You walk into the room like the Count, not asking, do they like me? But asking, do I respect them? We spend so much time trying to be light, we forget that we need gravity to stay on the ground. The Count is gravity. I've shared a bit of my story, and the shift from the nice guy to the judge. And now I'd love to hear yours. What spiritual traps have you run into, where being nice cost you your peace? Have you ever felt the backlash when you finally set a boundary? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might just be the key that helps someone else find their own way out. Don't explain yourself in the comments. Just tell the truth. I'll see you in the next one.